Welcome back to Pachehra Talks. My name is Arun and I'm Solutions Architect, MCT, currently working with Novintech, which is one of the best organization to work with. And today we are going to proceed or in continuation with the artificial intelligence series, we are going to talk about Azure OpenAI, or rather we will discuss in detail about our studio, Azure OpenAI Studio. And this is my channel, Pachehra Talks, and these are my views for the Azure OpenAI. So let's get started. In the previous video, we saw a lot of things regarding Azure OpenAI and Azure OpenAI Studio, right? And we also submitted the request to get the access so that we can perform some labs, we can perform some task. But we decided that would not be a challenge for us in case we do not get the access. So let's try. This is Azure OpenAI. It's showing right here because we've been working on it. So let's click here. All right, if I click on create, let's see if, oh no, we still do not have the access. So let's wait for it. It says 24 hours or 48 hours, something. So it's like 20 or 24 hours of the form submission. No worries, we'll utilize this time or this video to understand the Azure OpenAI Studio further with some other interesting terminologies that we should be aware of. So that's the reason, because I knew maybe it will not be approved or something. So I have opened a couple of Microsoft documentation where we have the feel of Studio. As you can see, this is Azure AI Studio. This is what we talked about in the previous video, the playground part and the management part. Now, if you see the another snippet from deployment, it's zoomed out. We can see, just hit on create new deployment and it will help us, or it will give us options of all the models or available for us to deploy, right? Even in the form that we have submitted, there were multiple models, and we have to choose which model we would like to have the access for that particular subscription. So that's how we deploy a model. And in the next screen, you can see all the models which are available here, and all the models which shows succeeded are the deployable or trained already. So that's how it sounds. But the main agenda for this video is this. If you go to the playground completion, these are some interesting terminologies that we should be aware of, right? We already know playgrounds are useful interfaces in Azure OpenAI Studio that you can use to experiment, right? Its completion, you type something and it will give you the result. You type something, you need to select the deployment from this drop down. As you see on the deployment, there would be models that you have deployed will be shown here, and you can select that and you can start typing for the completions. Maybe you'll type something and result will come once you hit generate, and here it will show the tokens consumed. All right, the point is uh, this is playground, and we need to understand these things. So let's go one by one. So the very first is temperature. Oh, sorry, parameter temperature. So no, sorry, is temperature. All right, so temperature. Think of it like what? Like hot and cold? No, not exactly, but you could think it as a hot and cold as well. Rather understanding, let's think it like a seasoning in cooking. Yes. Low temperature means just like using a little bit of salt, the model's response are more predictable and stick to common patterns, like making a simple or classic dish, right? Or if you make it high temperature, this is like adding a variety of spices to your dish. The response become more varied and creative. sometimes resulting in unexpected but interesting outcomes, right? Uh, that was just a bad analogy to understand the temperature. But don't worry, just stay with me. It will give you temperature value is 0 to 1. Okay, you can select anything in between. And as from low to high, when we go, it actually controls the randomness. So 0 means rarely random, and 1 means all random, or rather creative responses, you could say. So lowering the temperature means that the model produces more repetitive and deterministic responses. And increasing the temperature result in more unexpected or creative responses. So what we need to do, we need to adjust the temperature uh, to find the balance as per the uh, uh, as per the model that we are developing, right? Because it will also consume a lot of tokens. Anyways, let's not go to the tokens as of now. So this is what the parameter is. From 0 to 1, low temperature to high, it controls the randomness, it controls the creative responses. If it is low, it will be more repetitive, more simplistic, more deterministic. But if it is high, it is more unexpected. A lot of information it will provide you, whether you will not even ask for because of creative responses, right? Now, the max length tokens. That's the second point. Well, here let's try to understand this with the characters limit in LinkedIn post or maybe in tweet. In tweet, it's 280 characters. So there is a limit of characters, just like in LinkedIn or Twitter. Similarly, we have a set of maximum numbers of tokens. Tokens means words, pieces of words, because machine understand not the words but the right numericals. So that's how token, you just think it like a words or piece of words. So for the models, for the sake of models, but that's how they calculate the pricing as well. So one token is roughly 4 characters of typical English text, not mandatory, but you can think like that. Okay, so it's like deciding how long your tweet from the model should be. There is a website tokenizer something where you can type any sentence and you can figure out how many tokens there would be. I'll show you that maybe in next video. All right, so that's what the maximum length tokens. You can set the limit of tokens. What is tokens? Tokens is roughly 4 characters of typical English text on a high level. Okay, now stop sequence. This is stop sequence. It's like using a period to end a sentence. Dot, period. You decide where you want the model's response to stop, such as at the time of a sentence or a list. It's like telling a storyteller stop after you reach the end of the adventure, ensuring the story doesn't go on and become too long. All right, so that's what it is, stop sequences. Then we have top P or top probabilities. It is similar to temperature, okay? But rather we were, when we were discussing temperature, it was seasoning on the cooking. But here you can think like choosing your meal from a menu. Okay, let's connect it, let's relate it. Again, I don't think it's a very good example, but let's try to find something good out of it. So let's suppose if we have lower top P means you are choosing from the most popular dishes. The model picks the most likely words leading to more predictable text. Or higher top P, it's like considering both popular and exotic dishes, giving the model freedom to choose from a wider array of words, some common and some rare, right? You're finding the connection, just similar to temperature. This controls the randomness, but uses a different method. Lowering top P narrows the model's token selection to likelier tokens. And increasing top P lets the model choose from tokens with both high and low likelihood. Try adjusting temperature and top P, but not both. Okay. So you can choose, and accordingly you can play. For example, you choose temperature, so play with the temperature. If you play with the top P, play with the top P, but not both. Okay. Otherwise, you'll stuck in the vicious circle of material world. Okay. All right. So another one is frequency penalty. Penalty. Okay. These are new words. Okay. It's penalty, not the new, but I got confused. Anyways, the frequency penalty prevents the echo in conversations. What this actually means? Well, it means the more a word appears, the less likely it is to be repeated. Avoiding responses that sounds like a broken record. I do sound that sometimes, but my focus is like we want to make that concept clear. Anyways, don't justify yourself, just try to make better videos, all right? So let's imagine trying to avoid saying delicious too many times when describing a meal, right? So frequency penalty. So it prevents the echo in the conversation. It will help you settle down so that you are not using the same word again and again. For example, I do a lot of write, I know. uh, okay, and a lot of okay. So, but I'm not AI and I cannot be controlled by these options, but I can learn just like AI, or maybe I can learn just like me. Now, let's not get into it and understand the presence penalty. Well, it encourages topic diversity in a chat. Presents, right? The top one was frequency penalty. It's presence penalty. Once a word is used, the model tries not to use it again. The presence being shown. Promoting new topics or ideas in the conversation. Why? Because of this. So it's like making sure every guest at a party talks about something different. So presents. Frequency, not too many times. The more a word appears, the less likely to be repeated. And presence is once a word is used, the model tries not to use it again. Just the presence. Then we have pre-response text. Pre-response text here. It's the setting the stage before a performance thing, right? So you add text right after the user's input, but before the model response. It's like giving a hint or setting a scene before actors start their dialogue in a play, guiding the direction of the response. Similarly, it's a pre-response and we do have a post-response. It is like the cue for what comes next. Inserting text after the model's response to nudge the user on how to continue. Similar to saying, and then what happened? Like when somebody saying, then what happened? So after someone tells part of a story, encouraging them to keep going. Okay, you say something, then what happens? So just like we do. And so these parameters allow you to tailor the model's behavior to your specific needs, whether you're aiming for creative storytelling, generating precise information, or facilitating engaging conversations. All right, so these will help us, and this is our playground, which will help us to select the right numbers for us before we started using the model in our production applications. So this was the completion. What about the chat? All right, let me show you chat. Okay, this prompt types. Prompts can be grouped into types of requests based on task. Now you can see prompt example. This is for completion. This is for completion, as I was saying in the previous video. So if the prompt is I enjoyed the trip, sentiment, it will reply as positive. So it's completing it. So completion. Even if I go above, it says a prompt is the text portion of a request that is sent to the deployed model's completion endpoint. Response are referred to as completion. So prompt, what we typed, I enjoyed the trip, and completion, what this model is saying positive. We type list ways of travel. It's giving us example like bike, car, things like that. So that's completion. For chat, we do have parameters, and that's how we are going to learn it. I hope in the next video we would have the access to this wonderful Azure OpenAI resource so that we can actually do practicals and understand it better. But till then, let's prepare ourselves. So parameters. So what parameters we need to understand here? Well, where we need to select the deployment, all this, that's the basic, but the maximum response. What is maximum response here? All right, this is like setting a limit on how long a reply from the AI can be. Imagine you are sending text and you decide that no message should be longer than 160 characters to keep things brief. In the chat playground, this is our playground, chat playground. Setting a max response limit controls how lengthy the AI's responses can be, ensuring they don't ramble on. Give one token Given one token is roughly 4 characters of typical English text, setting a limit helps manage the response size because we don't want it to go on and on because we need to complete the experiment, right? And similarly, we want the productive application because AI is going to help us more productive. We don't want AI to waste our time. So if you set the max response to 100 tokens, it's like telling the AI, you've got about 400 characters to answer my question. So keep it concise, precise, and to the point. Now, just like in completion, we have top P, just like top G. No, we are not talking about top G, we're talking about top B. Simple explanation, the parameter adjusts how creative or surprising the AI's responses are. A lower top P means the AI sticks closer to the more common or expected answers, okay? Loading the top P. But if you're higher it, it allows the AI to explore more varied and less predictable responses, more creative, more random. So let's take an example. Imagine you're asking the AI to come up with an idea for a birthday gift. If we have lower top P, this might result in common suggestion like a book or flower or a pen. But if you have higher top P, it could lead to be more unique and varied suggestions, such as personalized comic book, right? A virtual cooking classes, right? Or buying a dance classes or a gym membership. But I think hiding the top B, you should have the top G in your pocket as well. The point is, that's how the AI works. So there is something more, which is interesting as well, because if you are using ChatGPT, maybe free version just for fun, because you cannot rely on the information that they're sharing completely. You need to check it because it's not trained on the latest data, and sometimes it hallucinate, and that is a true story. So there is something called past message included, which means this how many of the previous turns in the conversation the AI remembers for its next response. You must have seen when you reply or you ask something to the chat GPT, and in continuation, without giving the context, if you ask another question, it will understand the context is the previous one. So it's like the AI has a short-term memory, not like Gajini. It was the memory loss, but it has the short-term memory, and you control how much of the past conversation it can recall to make its next replay relevant. And it is actually like Gajini because it has short-term memory, and after a couple of prompts, it will not remember. If you ask like, yesterday I asked you this, what about this? No, doesn't work like that. And you can decide that how many of the previous turns in the conversation AI remembers. Right, so these parameters allow you to tailor the AI responses to be more in line with what you are looking for. Since the API calls are priced by token and it's possible to set a maximum response token limit, you'll want to keep an eye out for the current token count to make sure the conversation doesn't exceed the max response token count. With this, let's close this video on Azure OpenAI Studio, uh, diving deep, maybe. And let's hope we would have some access next time, else we need to again do some kind of workaround to keep learning. Thank you for watching, and you guys have a wonderful